following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. My name is Leo Connors. I'm your host, and tonight I got a very special guest, professional wrestler, Big Gun Jim Sargent.
Leo, how you doing? It's an
Good,
honor.
thank you very much. It's an honor to have you here. I got to ask you, first things first, what day is it?
Well, today is February 18th, and it happens to be my sister's birthday.
Nice.
So I'm supposed to say happy birthday. Make sure I don't forget that.
Pamela.
Pamela, yep.
Happy birthday, Pam. And you know something, I'm seeing that you brought that up. Tomorrow is my brother's birthday. He would have been 58. He passed away a few years ago. I've dedicated the show to him twice. John, I love you. All right, let's get right into it. You've said you've watched the show a little bit, so
I have,
we'll
yes.
start off with a little get-to-know-you interview. Jim, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Rowley, Massachusetts.
Oh, wow.
Small town just south of Newburyport.
No one's ever been from Raleigh yet? So,
There you
nice.
go. Yeah.
When did you first see pro wrestling?
I was a big fan when I was a kid. The earliest memory I can remember was when Ivan Putski and Tito Santana were the tag champs. So
Yeah.
we're probably talking late 70s, somewhere in that
I think that
ballpark.
was 78, 77.
Yeah, yeah. And that was the first taste of it.
Nice. Were your friends into it?
They were. Very interesting story. In my backyard in Raleigh, my dad actually built a wrestling ring in the backyard.
nice.
And it's still known to this day. I saw a guy at our show the other night that remembers that ring.
Right.
All the neighborhood kids came, so everybody was into it.
Nice.
It wasn't like the rings we have now. It didn't.
Right.
It didn't give very much, but it was basically just wood, and that was it. But yeah,
That's pretty
a lot of
cool, though.
friends
Not
into
too many dads build rings. I mean, the Hardy Boys, that's the only, that's like the most famous father in the wrestling business that built a ring for someone, you know?
Yeah, we made our own belts. My dad was the commissioner.
Nice.
The Rowley Wrestling Association, I think we called it, or something like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so you and your friends were into it and stuff. Your dad obviously liked it, too.
He tolerated it. I
He
think.
tolerated, yes. That's like my dad. He never really liked wrestling. My mother hates wrestling, but it is what it is. Jim, who trained you?
I was trained initially by Knuckles Nelson,
Okay.
Salisbury Beach.
Yep.
He had a school down there. And I trained for a little under a year or so. And, taught me the basics, the etiquette side of things,
Right.
certainly, and how to protect myself and
Yep.
my opponent in the ring. And later on, added to that with a good friend of mine, Freight Train Dan.
Okay.
He added to that, and we traveled a lot together, and I learned a lot from him. And then even further down the road, Stiff Mike was actually a big
Nice.
influence of mine and taught me how to work as a big man. And
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, a lot of guys have picked up things along the way, but those three, I would say, were the ones that really put a lot into it.
Nice. And I skipped over a question like an idiot. I'm not a professional. When did you decide you wanted to be a pro wrestler? I should have asked that first. Sorry,
Well,
guys.
I never thought I'd have the opportunity. I was always a fan,
Right.
and I was in the military for a long time, and I couldn't do things that would have injured myself.
Right.
They wouldn't. Nobody would have signed off on something like that. So I actually got into which was a thing called fantasy wrestling. It was basically, that's where I created the character.
Okay.
And you basically would create the character and you described everything in finite detail, and you'd email it to this guy, and he'd somehow make matches online. He would just all made
Right.
up. And that's where I got the idea of the name. The look was a little different, but
Right.
the music, everything. And never thought I'd have an opportunity to actually do it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how the independent scene even worked,
Right.
how the behind the scenes worked. I would see guys from the Salisbury Beach, where in the area where I was growing up. I'd see these guys. Brian Day was the champion.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, that's like New England champion.
Yeah.
I didn't know how it worked.
Right.
And I just really stumbled upon it one day and almost backed into it. And then the rest is history.
That's a neat story, because I have to ask you, did you join that fantasy wrestling from the magazines?
No.
Okay,
Nope.
because that if you ever saw in the old magazines, they used to
Yeah,
have that.
similar to that. I forget
Okay.
how I got into it,
All
but I
right.
just learned about it, and I thought it was just a joke. And then,
Right.
but so when I started, and Knuckles said, we got to start thinking of a character, I said, I already have one.
Right.
And when he asked me to explain it, I said, the character itself is basically Hulk Hogan, who has
Yep.
a big mark, and that's no
Right.
secret to anybody that knows me. Sergeant Slaughter, and all these American guys rolled
Right.
into one with the volume turned up to 100.
Nice.
And he's like, okay, I like it.
Right, like the Patriot too, part of it too.
No, he came
No,
later.
later, okay.
Yeah, and the mask obviously is that.
Right.
And, I've taken a lot of heat over the years for this mask, but
Wow, it looks good. I don't care.
it fits the character.
Right.
And a lot of guys, I had some ideas over the years to try to change it, make my own design, but it really fits.
Yeah, no,
And-
I'll be honest with you. It really does. It looks great. Jim, now I know right now you're working for APW.
Yep.
What are some of the other companies that you have worked for?
Well, I started with Knuckles, the Wrestling Star Wars.
Right.
That was the early incarnation of
Yep.
what APW is now, and that was on a high, and we closed doors all of a sudden, unannounced, and was left without a home. So I started traveling with Freight Train a
Yep.
lot, and we did a lot of work with Atlas up in Maine, Tony
Yep.
Atlas up in Maine, and Yankee Pro,
Yep.
Top Rope Now, down in Fall River.
For
New
Joe
Bedford.
Junior. Junior
For
was it?
no, for his name escapes. He runs it now. He
Okay.
runs Top Rope now.
Oh, Steve Perkins.
Steve Ricard.
Oh, Steve
Steve
Ricard.
Ricard, yep.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep, did a handful of shows for him, a few shows for Chris Blackheart,
Yep.
Chris Sataro. I kind of Worcester area,
Right.
just a few random shows here and there. And I was not one of these guys that dedicated every single weekend. Just with my full-time career and stuff, I couldn't. But
Right.
traveled around for several years without really anything close to home. And I got out of it for a few years, and then Big Woody gave me a call when we were going to start this thing back up again, and
Nice.
been on a high ever since.
I was going to ask you. That was going to be the next question. Was how did you get back into it? But Big Woody.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of influence on a lot of guys.
He has.
Especially at APW. I'm sure you guys miss him being there on a regular basis.
Yep. Yep.
He's been a guest on here like 4
He's
times.
a great guy. He really
I
is.
actually have him. I'm gonna have him on again. He hit me up. He wants to do a boxing special because we're both huge boxing fans.
Okay.
So that ought to be fun. All right. So I'd really like to talk to you now. Your tag team, American Made.
Uh-huh.
You with Jake.
Jake, yep.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about Jake?
So Jake, young guy.
Yep.
Really energetic, really wants to do great things in this business. And I was on the verge of working through some injuries, and I thought I was going to have to hang it up.
Right.
And I wanted to find my replacement.
Yep.
Somebody that would carry the big gun banner, so to speak, and the sergeant name.
Right.
And met Jake.
Yep.
And saw that he had the desire and everything to do it. And we talked and we worked through some things. And instead of, walking off into the sunset, we said, hey, you know what? This is a rebirth. This is going to be a tag team, American Made. We, I come up with the concept, and he was a perfect fit.
Nice.
And then we added a third
right.
after
Which
that.
is the next guy I was going to bring up, Hunter Ward.
Yep. Yep.
Who actually just retired this past weekend,
Yep.
Saturday night, along
He
with
did.
Matt Loudon at APW. We'll talk a little bit about that at another time, but I definitely want you to talk about Hunter.
Yeah,
you could.
Hunter and I go back a long ways. We're both APW originals.
Right.
And we've been good friends in and out of the ring.
Yep.
And we've never actually worked together, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
Against each other, I
Yep.
should say. But no, just a great guy. He
Yeah,
really
he
has
is.
a desire, to do great things in the business. And unfortunately, his career got cut short, working through some injuries. But I wish him well. And he was a great addition to our team.
Right.
That third,
Yeah.
person that was just going to be, the balance between Jake and I.
Yep.
And we'll just have to bounce back and regroup.
I'm sure you will. And Hunter, best wishes to you, buddy. We'll have you on here again. You're just going to have to come on as a fan now. Well, and Matt, same thing to you. You're definitely coming on. I got to send you some dates soon. So the big show Saturday night at APW, Elimination Force? No.
Full Force
Full
Elimination.
Force
yep.
Elimination 8.
8. Yep.
Big show.
Huge.
You had a giant tag team match.
We did.
You guys were victorious.
We were.
And your team was made up of you and Jake. And you had Cicero.
Yep.
Travis Gillette. And is he calling himself the Prodigy? Nick Curry?
If he is, I wasn't aware
All
of
right,
that.
maybe
but
he's not. Okay. And Nick Curry.
Yep.
Which is unbelievable because that's 3 young kids that are that I've seen Cicero a few times at Chaotic. I've only heard great things about Travis and only seen Nick in little videos. But a lot of talent in those young kids.
They really are. Those guys were amazing. And I had only seen Curry just one other time
Right.
in person. But he really, he was really dazzling the other night. The crowd really got behind him. And Travis, I've seen him, a bunch of times
Right.
now, and that kid just is amazing.
Yeah.
He's going places if he wants to do this. And
Right.
it's, I'm honored to have him on my team. I got to work with his dad years ago, and
Yeah.
So yeah, it was great. It was a great fun time.
And that's what I was going to say, too, because Jay Gillette, Travis's dad, is a great wrestler. And Nick Curry, like I was telling you off here, is like wrestling royalty. I mean, they call his grandfather the godfather of hardcore, Wild Bull Curry, and his father, Flying Nick Curry Sr. No, I'm sorry, Flying Freddie Curry.
Yep,
I'm sorry,
Fred.
I got Nick there. And then his brother, Flying Freddie Curry Jr.
Yep.
Great wrestler, too. I don't think he wrestles that much anymore.
No, he was involved when I first broke in.
Okay.
And I remember, he again was just like Nick.
Yeah.
High flying, amazing drop kicks.
Yeah.
And so he's just carrying on the tradition. But
And now there was like 3 other teams in it. Bugsy Stone had a team. Ike had a team, which I thought when I last was at APW, the one time I went there, I could have swore Ike and Bugsy were a tag team.
yeah,
Were
that
they a
was
tag team in APW before?
that was an interesting relationship.
Yeah.
That was like a little brother type
Yeah.
thing, and yeah, that was an odd pairing, but
Quite
yeah.
different than what Bugsy's going to be doing this Wednesday night coming up at UFO Wrestling when he teams up with Big Bear Matuch.
Yep.
Both guys have been on the show. Love those guys. All right. So also on that show, there was a huge match between Brad Hollister and Demon Ortiz. Like I said, I wasn't there. And it's buzzing all over the place. Seriously. Can you tell me, what did you see in that match? Did you watch it?
I did. Out back. Everybody was around the monitors out back. Tore the roof off the place. I mean, I know Ortiz from several years of watching him. He's amazing.
Yes.
And I've seen Brad Hollister a handful of times, and what an amazing talent, younger talent. And to hear Ortiz give him the props after the match, he gave him all the credit.
Right.
But those two were just amazing. It was an amazing match. Match of the night by far.
I really, after I found out that they were wrestling, I couldn't go because I had a prior engagement.
Yep.
I was killing myself that I didn't go because Brad is really making a huge name for himself right now.
He is.
And I mean, Demon's a legend, New England legend.
Hall of Famer. Yep.
Oh, absolutely. All right. So I got a lot of fan questions.
Okay.
Let's get into some fan questions. The first one is from a guy named Jake Olette. What's it like to find out you had a son?
Oh, Jake. He's been like a son to me, and I wanted to take somebody under my wing, and I've done the best I can to instill the big gun way, I'll say, to him. And it's been a fun ride.
Nice.
We'll see where it goes, and hopefully we'll keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yep.
So.
Excellent. Walter Marzak. Walter, when you see me live, I hope I'm saying his name right.
I think you're right.
Okay. He says, will Jake ever fill his dad's boots?
Well, I hope so. There's going to be some learning bumps along the way, and but he's doing everything right now, and I'll be long gone by that time. But I mean, he's doing everything right now, and I guess time will tell. But
okay.
Yeah.
APW's #1 fan. You probably know who I'm talking about.
Anthony Mark Balkis.
He's got a couple questions here. Thank you, Anthony, for always supporting the show.
Thank you, Anthony.
Who is someone you haven't wrestled but you'd love to?
Oh.
And he always has good questions. Always.
I know I'm going to regret this answer, but the one guy that I look up to, I respect the most, and I've never had the opportunity to work with him, is Demon Ortiz.
Wow.
And we almost had a program a few years back, and I got injured.
Yeah.
And we had to put that on the shelf, but I know it would be a battle.
Right.
And I would be probably regretting it for a while, but he'd be the one guy that I would love to get in the ring with.
So it must have been sad for you too, though, when he got hurt.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was completely done. When I found out he came back, I was, wow, it's great to see that he came back, but I heard it was a pretty nasty injury.
Yeah, it was. It was great to see him come back, and even now, on a more full-time basis. So.
Yeah. All right, Anthony Mark Balkis has a second question. He says, do you like being a heel or a face better?
Well, I've only been a heel for maybe a year of my 19 years in the business, and that was even a temporary mission, really, to that group, the organization that Joe Moakley and those guys had. I kind of had to become heel to infiltrate them, break them apart from the inside. So it was difficult for me because I've always been about the fans and coming out and shaking hands and taking photos and giving autographs, and that was hard to not be able to do that.
Right.
I mean, I can be as mean as they come if I need to be, but
to the people that you deserve to be mean to.
But I like the fans, and the fans are what it's all about. So I prefer working, as a face.
Nice. But. Okay. Jake has another question. If you could form a tag team with anyone at all, alive or dead, this is a good question too, past or present, who would it be?
Well, again, anybody that knows me, they know
Yeah.
I'm already gonna how I want to answer this thing. But I've been a big Hulk Hogan fan since I can remember.
Right.
You know, I had an opportunity to meet him once. My wife actually got me backstage passes to one of his daughter's concerts, and we got a photo. And I was like a little kid, but
Right.
that would be like the ultimate
Right.
if I could do that. I actually got to tag with Tony Atlas once, and I thought that was a
Oh, that
amazing thing.
Yeah.
Hogan would be it, I guess. That would be
Right.
you know the ultimate. But
That's excellent. But teaming with Tony Atlas, man, a lot of people just see Tony as like, a guy that's around here. They don't realize how big of a name in the wrestling business
Yep.
he had before Vince turned it all around and
What's-
took it all over,
Yeah.
I should say.
Well, it's funny. I think it was Jay Gillette put that show on. It was out near Worcester somewhere. And we get in the locker room and he says, "All right, you and Tony are going to go out as tag champs tonight." And okay.
yeah, I
Sure,
didn't say
why
no
not?
to that, right?
And yeah, it was great. I was on I had friends in the crowd. I said, "Get your camera ready because this
Yeah.
is going to be cool." But yeah, so
Because, I mean, he was fighting Ric Flair in like 1979, 1980 in the Mid-Atlantic area.
Yeah.
It's just crazy that people only I hear them say, they snicker about things about Tony,
Yeah.
which is just absolutely, to me, insane.
Yeah.
The guy's a legend.
he is.
Joe Moakley, who will be sitting in that chair tomorrow, either that one or the one that will be here,
Yeah.
as Mike and Joe are coming on. But he wants to know, do you wear,
Oh boy.
and it's Joe, but I'll ask it. Does he wear a mask because you were burned in a fire like Kane? Come on, Joe.
Oh, Joe.
I know. You
Maybe-
don't even have to answer it if you don't
Maybe
want.
you can try to take it off someday, Joe. How about that? We'll see. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, and I'll give him crap for that question tomorrow on air, right? You're going to get it, Joe. Walter Mrazek has another question for you. Who would you rather get your hands on? Johnny Fabo, which must be Johnny Fabulous, Johnny Senior,
Yep.
or Joe Moakley? After that question, man, I know who I want you to get.
Well, I've got my hands on Joe Moakley quite a few times.
Yep.
And that's always a pleasure to do that. But Johnny Fabulous and I have been on a collision course since I broke into the business.
Right.
I actually got my hands on his coat one time, but I know it's just a matter of time before he says the wrong thing to me or one of my fans, and
Right.
he's just going to take it right across the chin.
Nice.
Just
And
a
he'll
matter of
deserve every one of them, every whack you give him.
Before one of us retire, it's going to happen.
Nice.
Has to.
Nathan Fuller, a guy that I've known for a long time, big wrestling fan around here. Jim and Leo, did you happen to see the WWE pay-per-view last night?
I did not.
All right, I did. I'll answer it real quick. Great show. The women's tag team elimination chamber match was incredible. The WWE Championship elimination match was incredible. Kofi Kingston went off. I don't know if you heard about it.
I've heard a lot of buzz.
And the way the fans were reacting, I'm hoping Kofi now will get that. He could get a run.
Yeah.
A lot of people always thought it was going to be Big E because of his size.
Yep.
But I always thought Kofi was the better wrestler. So Nathan, thanks for the question. And the Daniel Bryan WWE Championship match with Kofi and everybody else involved, and the tag team championship, the women's tag team championship with the local flavor, Sasha Banks, one half of the tag team champions. A friend of mine, Dan Bolia, wants to know, he was here last week with his brother Bobby. How did you decide on your gimmick? You kind of already answered that.
Well, it was easy. The whole character of Big Gun is really just me.
Yep.
It's-
You said
I'm
you
not-
were in the service. What branch were you in?
I was in the Air Force,
Okay.
22 years, and I was a master sergeant when I retired. So the whole sergeant, that's where I
Right.
got the sergeant name from. And I always liked talent that had a nickname before their name, like Iron Mike Tyson, Stone
Right,
Cold
right.
Steve. So I and I'm a big AC/DC fan too.
Yep.
So they had that song Big Gun
Yep.
back from the Last Action Hero movie. So I just pieced it together. But it's easy for me because it's just me.
Right.
It's what everything the Big Gun stands for. It's me,
Yeah.
but just with the volume
Right.
off the charts. So I bleed red, white, and blue. The whole Americana. That's just me
Right.
anyway.
Yep.
So I'm not really portraying a character, so to speak. It's just
And people say that are in the wrestling business that's the best characters when it's really you. And you, like you said, and you just turn it all the way up. That's fantastic.
and
That's
this helps me feel a little less silly to do it.
right. There you
So
go.
I can hide behind the mask. A little
Dan,
bit.
thanks for the question. I'm pretty sure you got another question coming up, I think. Bugsy Stone. What kind of American hero wears a mask, he says? Did you punch him in the face the other night?
I want to.
You didn't the
I
other
did.
night? Okay.
He's going to get one, but I mean,
I just hope you don't punch me.
nah. I mean, Bugsy, just do your homework. Captain America.
Yep.
Batman.
Yep.
The Lone Ranger. Big gun. There's a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
So
What was Hogan when you put the mask on?
Mr. America.
Mr. America. Yeah, see?
That-
Lots of heroes.
I couldn't do a star mask because then it would have been too much Hogan.
Right. Damon Farah,
Great guy.
huge fan.
Huge fan.
And he was very excited. Just so Vanity Vixen, I got to say real quick, won the women's APW Women's Championship, defeating. Now is she going by Widow Belmont now? Is it or Mistress Belmont?
I think it's Mistress
All right,
Belmont now.
beating Mistress Belmont.
Those two have had a lot of battles.
A lot of matches. Congratulations. I know Damon was very excited about that. He wants to know, are you and Jake ready for Bugsy and Stiff Mike? Now, that's a hell of a tag team, though.
Yeah. Well, that's certainly going to be a match that'll be a battle from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Jake and I, we both, work out quite a bit. I'm in the best wrestling shape I've been in a long time. Those two guys are probably as tough as they come.
Yeah.
So when that time happens, and probably sooner than later,
Yeah.
that's going to be one hell of a fight. So
And you and Stiff Mike know each other well. Like you said, he helped you a little bit.
yeah,
Right?
him and I go way back. We've worked together.
Right.
There's a mutual respect there. Up until this past weekend, I'm a little shocked at that one, but
Right.
Mike, nothing but respect for you, Mike, and we'll see what happens. But he's as tough as they come.
He sure is.
Yeah.
And Damon, also, I just want to add this to it. A Texas tornado match between both teams would be very cool. Maybe I'll talk to Joe and Mike,
That's
see what
right.
they say about
Yeah,
that.
Not a bad idea.
Now, a guy I think you train with, and I was going to bring him up in the name game, but I really don't have to now because he asked a question. Brian Privatera. Did you train with Brian?
Briefly.
Okay, briefly.
I was his first match,
Okay.
but he was around when I was still
All
training
right.
as well. Yeah.
Actually, he doesn't have a question. I'm sorry. He has a statement. Great man. Had my first match against him in 2002.
Yeah.
Brian is a great guy.
He really is.
Very,
yeah.
very big supporter of the show. Thank you, Brian.
We've had a couple matches. Maybe we'll have a match before I retire.
Yeah, that'd be great. Brian, I think has a match Wednesday night at the UFO show. Anthony Mark Balkas has a couple more questions. Nope. One question. I'm sorry. When you first met me, you were a heel, and I got in your face and yelled at you.
Yes,
I think you came out like 3 times that night. Do you love me when me or others do that, or does it get annoying?
Never gets annoying when a fan has a response, whether it's good or bad, love
Right.
us or hate us. That's what we want.
Yep.
So I mean, if he's in my face, that's all it's all about. And he is very, very passionate about
He
this
is.
business. He really is. And I'm glad now that I'm on the better terms with him and his
Right.
family. And but yeah,
They cheer you on like crazy now, I'm sure.
they do.
Absolutely.
They do.
He posted a lot of videos from the
Yeah.
show, and like you said, he's so passionate. You can hear him yelling the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Watch your mouth, Anthony.
I
You bring your
know.
children there. That's all I gotta say.
gotta-
I swear a lot, not on here, but I do. So I'll take my own advice also.
Oh,
But you got your little ones.
I'm
there.
just as bad.
But I thank you again, Anthony. Dave Fournier, you know Dave? Dave's a real big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
He's been around a long time. What was it like working the weekly shows for Knuckles Nelson's Wrestling Star Wars show? It's a tongue twister.
That was a great time. It was, again, it was like an unexpected dream come true
Right.
for me. I didn't think I'd ever have the opportunity to, and those shows were great. It was close to home for one.
Yeah.
The Joe Moakley will tell you, him and I trained together, and the building we were in is now beautiful, but
Right.
back then there was no heat, no air conditioning, and we could train, and the shows were in the same building, so there
Right.
was no breakdown or in the ring, and those shows were great. We were, I think it was 2000, 2001, we were riding such a high, bigger crowds every time.
Right.
And Knuckles, to his credit, put me in some great spots, and I got to work with some great people who have gone on to do unbelievable things,
Right.
Hall of Famers, and we just kept building and building
Yep.
and building. And then he had a incident we had to move back to Rhode Island or Connecticut, where he's from, and we just stopped. And I think a lot of us were, well, what do we do now?
Right. Right.
So, but it was those shows were great, and we had a lot of fans come in, and
Yep.
I'd love to go back to that building and have
Yeah.
a show there now. It's beautiful, the Blue Ocean Music Hall.
Was he teaming with Eric then too?
That was after that.
That was after, because
Yeah,
that
he-
was a hell of a tag
They
team.
were.
NWA tag team
Yep.
champs.
Yep.
I like those guys a lot. I'm still trying to get Eric on here. He called me up one day and said you were going to come on and bring some other people with you.
And I never realized too, with Knuckles, the whole Kowalski
Yeah.
NWA New England, that had just happened before
Yep.
I came in, and I had heard the stories,
Yeah.
you know, one-sided
Yep,
a little
yep.
bit, and I didn't realize then how close to that whole thing that I was, and
Right.
what a hotbed of wrestling that you know
Yeah.
Salisbury Beach and all that, and that whole thing was. And it's I know now a little bit more, but
Right.
yeah, so it was like very closely removed from that whole
Yeah.
great thing.
It's funny because I told you, like, I did some catering and things like that,
Yeah.
and I wanted to sell my merchandise, and I actually called a number. Remember the magazine when they had the promotions and they'd give you a number to call?
Yeah.
I called up the New England, NWA New England. It was Jason Rumble. I'm talking, all of a sudden, I'm like, is this Jason? But just a funny story. Jason and those guys had a hard time with Knuckles. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you said, I've only heard really one side. I never really heard Knuckles' side, so I don't want to get into any of that. But
Yeah.
it just was to know that Knuckles was running up in Salisbury Beach and was killing it up there, and to have it end like that, it just was sad for all you guys, because a lot of you guys. Now it was you. Was Perry Saturn wrestling up there sometimes too?
It was, I think, before I got
Okay.
into, maybe the year before, but there was a lot of guys. You know, Joe Moku again trained with us, but Ortiz,
Yeah.
which Latin Fury back then,
Right.
Kid USA, Jay Gillette, Curtis Slam Dog,
Yep.
Dylan Cage, Ron
Mercenary?
Zombie, Mercenary.
Yeah.
All these guys that I was in awe, because I
Right.
went when I was training. I'd go to the shows the year before
Right.
as a fan.
Yep.
And I'm just like, this is going to be amazing to get in with
Yeah.
these guys. Brian Day, I think, was the champion then, who was just, I mean, a
Yeah.
huge guy. So I really come in more as a fan.
Right.
And when I was able to get in there and mix it up, you know, I had mentioned in training, they did this cable TV interview show. And, well, who do you want to wrestle? I said, Dylan Cage. He was the champion at the time.
Right.
Well, I paid for that one in my first match. But I did get a chance to wrestle with him. And,
Yeah.
and my initiation match was him, a 20-minute beatdown at the hands of Dylan Cage and Ron Zombie. It's like a badge of honor to me.
Right.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
But yeah, they basically just beat the crap out of me for 20 straight minutes. And
No, that was Nelson's show, Knuckles' show, right?
Yep.
Because I
Yep.
remember I actually just saw a video on the YouTube. I found it the other day. That's pretty cool. David James, you know
I
David.
do. Yeah.
He says, "Big Gun, what are there any up and coming female wrestlers that people should keep their eyes on with women wrestling taking off the way it is from Daddy Dave?" I know where you're going with this, Dave.
I think I do too. But there's this one particular girl that's
Yep.
training, and she's taken every training opportunity there is. Her name's
Yes.
Stephanie.
Yes.
And I think it's just a matter of time before she breaks in and does some amazing things.
I
So
agree.
Stephanie, keep up.
I agree, because she's trained with Fury. She's trained up there with you guys. She trains everywhere she can. She can go.
The pedigree that she's training under is
Absolutely.
Fury, Ortiz,
Yep.
Stiff Mike. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think she's even been down to the Bell Time Club.
Yep.
So
yep.
I
Yep.
mean,
Bo Douglas. Yeah.
yeah.
So
So Stephanie, keep working. I can't wait to see you have your first match.
me too.
Jared Hall. Can I ask this question? Do you know what it is?
I don't know.
Look at the last question.
You can
Is
ask
that okay?
Yeah.
All right.
yeah,
So I
that's
wanted to
fine.
make
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Was the Jared Hall wants to know, because he was Kid Crazy, which was your first match.
Yep.
Was this person a state trooper in his regular life?
I was. I'm in law enforcement,
Yep.
not a trooper, but and I was new to that career field then when him and I
Right.
worked, and I didn't. We actually just connected right before
Yeah.
the show, and but yeah, yeah, I do. I'm in law enforcement now, and that's my full-time career.
Yeah.
So obviously, I gotta, be a little careful when I'm doing what I'm doing, but
Right.
But no.
Nice. Now, Jared was supposed to come on the show a while ago, and it didn't work out. I won't hold it against you, Jared. But every time he seems to get brought up, it seems to be it doesn't shine very brightly for him. So, but I just want to say this, Kid Crazy, you're a hell of a wrestler. I used to really enjoy watching you wrestle.
We had a great time.
Yeah.
It was brief, but we had a great
He
time.
was really good.
Yeah.
Really was. Maverick Wild put him over big time.
Yeah.
Let's want to play the name game?
Sure.
All right. How about Maverick Wild? Do you know Mav?
I've met him a few times.
Okay.
Yep. Great guy. Always a mountain of knowledge.
Yeah.
Always gives great feedback. Amazing talent himself.
Yes.
Don't know him too well, but yeah, my interactions with him have always been positive.
Yeah. I mean, and he's helped a lot of guys
Really
in this
has.
area. A lot of guys. Big Woody. Got to bring him up.
Big Woody's been there since longer than I have.
Right.
And just an amazing guy, and really has a mind for the business.
Right.
And he knows he can feed off the fans what they want. It's sad that we don't have him with us anymore, but just a great, great guy all around.
Well, we already brought up Bugsy, one part of the other 2/3 now so far of the Knuckle Busters. How about the third member, Bare Knuckle
Yeah,
Burley?
I got to know him through APW when he was teaming
Yep.
with Bugsy. Again, always a great guy. Never had the opportunity to really work with him. I think maybe briefly in a battle royal or something, but nothing one-on-one. But nothing but respect for him and just a good overall guy. Yeah.
I was seeing you haven't worked. I guess you haven't been hit with his go-to move. I don't know if you had to watch his episode on here, but he told us his go-to move was kicking the nuts. Burley, hope you're doing well. How about Big John Poe?
John Poe.
Oh, man, is he a big dude?
Amazing guy. And again, I learned a lot from him too. He was a big man, was our
Yeah.
champion in APW for a long time. When I was working the heel gimmick, I had an opportunity to work with him one-on-one. And this was just a couple years ago. First time ever that after the match, we got in the back and we got the applause from everybody. Probably on the losing end, me,
Yeah.
but probably one of the better matches I've had.
Nice.
I know I'm limited in the ring. I'll be the first to admit it, but that was a fun time, and he was just a great guy to work with.
Yeah,
So,
he's been incredible. I remember the first time I ever saw him, I think he was working for Chaotic, and I couldn't believe how big he was. Just a big, massive dude.
yeah, he got me up no problem though,
Oh, yeah.
and I was a lot heavier then. So
These guys had a big match Saturday night, too. I'll go one at a time. But Dan Terry.
amazing guy, athletic, just the talent. The mind that he has for this business
Right.
and the quick wittedness. He's just amazing.
Yeah.
And he can run circles around most people. And
Yeah.
the other guy,
Fitness.
fitness, man.
I got to say real quick, before we go to his opponent.
Yep.
Did he ever tell you the story of Sting and Lex Luger?
No.
Oh, look back on the show when I had him and Vern on.
Yep.
Watch it.
Okay.
Best story ever told. I'm telling you, you'll laugh your ass off. And his opponent that night, and sometimes tag team partner, Vern Vicalo.
Vern, another one. He has done amazing things, and those two working together is always something you want to watch.
Yeah.
Him and I worked one time, and I didn't realize when he was going by the selfie made
Yep.
man. Right in the middle of the match, he pulls out the camera and does the selfie, and he's just so quick with things.
Yeah.
He's a great talent.
Both
and
of them
a super nice
hard-working
guy.
guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Hard-working guys.
They really are.
I noticed he was on the show, and I don't know if he's been on a lot of APW shows recently. I know he used to be all the time. Cousin Larry.
Oh, amazing. I've had the opportunity to work quite a bit with him
Yeah.
and learn a lot from him, and
Yeah.
he's just an amazing talent. And I'll pick his brain whenever I can.
Yeah.
He'll give brutally honest
Yep.
feedback. And he's actually a great shoelace tire. He'll know what I mean by that.
Nice.
He helped me the other night with a boot issue,
Yep.
but no, just a great guy. And he always give a lending hand with whoever needs it, and just super safe in the ring.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, if you don't want brutal honesty and about asking people for your match, don't ask Larry, because he'll be honest with you, but he'll tell you the truth, and he'll also tell you how to fix it.
Right.
Larry's a
He
great
will.
guy.
Yep, absolutely.
Another great guy here, Johnny Vegas. A lot of legends. Like, seriously, I mean,
know.
they really are.
Johnny Vegas is just on the older side of things, like I am.
Yep.
No offense, Mr. Vegas, but he can still go with the best of
yeah.
them, and he can entertain the crowd, and just an amazing talent. The voice, the booming voice that he
Yeah.
has, he is just. When he's on the show, he's always a pleasure to be around.
Right.
Just a great guy.
And I love his thing. I love his entrance music. I do.
And
I'm
the old
a
ladies
huge
love him,
Elvis.
too.
Oh, I'm sure they
and
do.
he loves them, I think.
Oh,
more.
yeah, he does. He said to me the other day that I talk about him a lot on this show, but I can't help it because he's unbelievable. The Kingpin, who's now being known as the Brawler, Brian Malonis. He announced that today on the WPAN, the wrestling podcast about nothing. The Brawler, Brian Malonis.
He is finally getting the payoff and
Yep.
the recognition that he deserves. Him and I worked way back early 2000s up in Maine, and even then he was an amazing talent. We worked a few times here and there, but again, just a mountain of knowledge, an amazing guy in and out of the ring.
Yep.
And it's so nice to see that it's finally paying off for him,
Yeah.
and he's going on to bigger and better things, but still humble. He signed with
Yep.
Ring of Honor, that exclusive contract.
Yep.
He was in our locker room the other day, just giving feedback, watching matches.
Nice.
Just always a pleasure to be around. Great guy.
Well, he had said on his podcast too that he can work other
I saw
companies. He
that,
just can't be on television or something like that.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, Brian, again, congratulations. I know I wished you that on Facebook.
We are certainly better for his being involved with us. I know.
Oh,
that for a fact.
definitely. How about Danny Miles?
Another one. Wow, you got a great list there.
Yeah. Well, that's because APW books great people.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Danny Miles, and again, he's traveling all around, but he is an amazing worker, amazing champion, and he's like a chameleon. He can adapt himself to any situation. When it was with Joe Moakley and he was the adorable Danny Miles. He had the eyeliner and all. And we had a tag match. I think it was a 3-way tag match, and he changed up so many things. Again, I'll be the first to know my limits. I'll forget stuff all the time.
Right.
He's changing things, and he's running around, and he's making plans for everybody else's moves, and including his own. And my head's just trying to follow the bouncing ball. But an amazing guy, super nice to be around, humble. But he is just an amazing talent in the ring. And to see these matches, him and Ortiz is going to be amazing. Him and Hollister was another one that tore the house down, and just an awesome guy.
I think he's been wrestling for big time wrestling too.
Yep. So he's been in there with a lot of legends himself, but he's holding his own.
Yeah, I would honestly. I mean, Joe Bruin. I'm sure you're probably gonna. I think he's a future Hall of Fame. I really do.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Absolutely.
How about a young kid that's really killing it everywhere he's been going lately? Robo.
The Punjabi Lion.
Thank you, because I always butcher it. I'm bad, but I am.
Yeah.
But what about Robo?
Again, I've only seen him with APW, but I know he's with other places too. And right now he's over hanging with the great Khali, which isn't bad company. But again, an amazing talent. He looks the part.
Sure does.
Always looking for feedback. He's fairly new to the business, but he is. You can't tell. Can't tell. I mean, he's really honed the craft, and he's always looking for feedback. He listens.
Yeah.
He's smart. He's safe. But a guy that's going places.
I agree with you 100%. Now I'm going to bring up a guy, instead of saying nice things about, I'm sure you're not going to really like it too much, but I got to bring him up because he's at APW. I don't know if he still is. Abdullah Hassan. Is he still around?
He is.
Okay.
Yep. We had some time in the ring just the other night. The Sheikh Abdullah Hassan.
Yep.
Probably one of the biggest arch enemies I've ever had. And we just have a natural hate relationship. Yep. And whenever I get an opportunity to get my hands on that little pipsqueak of a guy, I'll do whatever I can to hurt him.
Nice.
That's what I said. I can be as mean as they come.
That's right.
He's one of them, and he knows it. So
right. Excellent. Now, these guys are tag team in other places. I don't know if they've teamed up in APW yet, but Sethrin and Gallo, Nightbreed, have they teamed up at APW?
They have. Yep. They actually just won the tag titles the other night.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Excellent.
Yep. I knew Sethrin before he brought his partner in.
Right. Because Gallo had stepped away for a few years, quite a few years.
Yep. But they are an amazing team. The feedback that they got when they've re-announced and reformed was amazing. They just have amazing chemistry with each other, and I think they're a formidable tag team. They're going to have a pretty long title run, maybe until Jake and I come along and give them a challenge. But yeah, they're doing great things, and they certainly got the fans behind them. And
I think they made their return for this guy's promotion. I know he wasn't on. I don't think he was on the show Saturday, but he has wrestled for APW quite a bit. Part of the Three Kings, Todd Sopel.
Yep. I've known Todd a long time. In fact, when I broke in, I think he was our champion for a long time until Ortiz knocked him off. But I've been a few of his shows for that he has down at Liberty States. Yep. And he runs an amazing show there. I don't think we've ever worked with each other directly. Actually, no, I take that back. We had a match, and my knee blew out in the middle of the match, and it was a mess. It was very ugly. But no, he a good talent, and he again a mind for the business, and does really good things. So
he's a very controversial guy in New England. There's no doubt. But honestly, like you said, you can't take away. He runs a great company.
Yeah.
He's very good in the ring.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal on the mic. Yeah. And there's no doubt about it.
He's another one that's just brutally honest. And some people don't want to hear that. And,
true.
Sometimes it's deserved. Sometimes it's a little off. But
well, him and Brian are running a show together too.
Yep.
All right. So how happy were you for Vanity Vixen when she won the title the other night? How's that?
Well, I'm a big Belmont fan. She's amazing.
Okay.
But to see her finally, you know, they've battled so many times,
Right.
and to see one of them finally come out on top, you know, it's good to see her, you know, get the, you know, the rewards that she's
Right.
put in, and she obviously puts a lot of work into it and everything, and so yeah, it was good to see that pay off.
Nice. Now, Mistress Belmont, who I'm a huge fan of also. So
Amazing. She is one of the toughest women I think I've ever met in my life. She can certainly hold herself in the ring. She is just, she could run circles around half the guys
Yeah.
that are in there, no doubt.
I used to love it.
I wouldn't mess with her myself.
I remember
but-
the first time I ever saw her, she had like a gas mask type thing. And the
Yep.
way she came out, it was like, I wish she would still come out that way because it
Yeah.
really was incredible.
Yeah, she's tough, but
She is
she's a
tough.
sweetheart out the ring. She's super nice, and
Right.
Yeah.
Have you and Jay taken on the Middlesex Express?
we have not. I know there's been talk about bringing them in,
Good tag
but
team.
I'm
They
sure
are.
that's two trains on a collision course.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Along with their manager, might as well bring him up here, Chad Epic.
Yep. Chad, we've spoken a few times. I know he's with them, so I'm not sure a matter of time.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
And he just needs to stay doing what he's doing. He tries to
Stay
get,
out of the match,
He
right?
tries to get in the match. He may, you know, get a little taste of Jake or I. So
There you go. I have to bring up this one other tag team. They're small guys, but they're freaking killing it everywhere. The Mainstay Posse.
awesome. I was hoping you'd bring those guys up.
Good.
Those guys are great.
All three of them.
Yep. And they've been on APW a few times. I know they work, you know, elsewhere in Maine. And
Yep.
we've actually, I think last year they were on our full force team. We got to work with them on the team. So
Nice.
thank God, but these guys, yeah, amazing team,
Amazing.
doing great things.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see them again. And you know, the tag team division in APW is really starting
Oh, yeah.
to build. So
Yes.
some great talent hopefully come out of that.
Every time I've seen the Mainstay Posse wrestle, Alexander Lee is nowhere to be found. So I'm waiting to someday see him actually there with them.
Yeah.
How about Channing Thomas?
Very brief interactions with him.
Okay.
Yeah, really limited, but I mean, from what I've seen,
Young kid.
Yeah.
He's pretty good too.
Yeah.
All right. How about let's go. I don't know if you like this guy, Buddy Romano.
oh, how can you not? No, just a really humble, super nice guy, and just a pleasure to be around.
Very
Love him or hate him.
Right.
Yeah, you're very talented.
Oh, great worker.
Yeah.
This guy just came back. DL Hurst. He had broken his leg, and he just came back a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with DL.
Not too familiar with
Okay.
him. No.
How about let's talk about Demon Ortiz.
What can you say? I mean, he has. We used to always. I don't know if it was just by chance when we were in early in APW, maybe even when it was still wrestling Star Wars. We would always be near each other in the locker room, and he was always the champ, but he was always first one there, last one to leave.
Right.
Always offering feedback, even just friendly advice.
Yep.
But he'd always sort of like, so one day when you and I work together, you'll need to know this stuff. And it was always that seed planted, but
Yep.
never happened. But just an amazing guy. It's so good to see him back.
Yeah.
And when he came back last year, it was a well-kept secret. Only one
Yeah.
or two people knew. And we were expecting it to be John Poe. That was like the rumor that kind of,
Right.
snuck out. And nobody knew until he actually came in. Wasn't even in the building.
Right.
And he had the mask with the red eyes. And,
Yep.
and that was a great kept secret. And that was just I was popping inside for it. But great to see him back.
Yeah.
And, we're certainly better off having him back.
Well, APW's #1 fan, Anthony Mark Balkas, that night was taping it, and for some, he said, I think that's what he said, I hope it's Demon, and he flipped out when he came out.
Yep.
So that is awesome. I did not know that they kept it a secret to everybody.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think just Joe and Mike,
Right.
and maybe Stiff Mike. That was
Yeah.
it. But and that was several months worth of keeping that a secret.
Right.
Because we
That's
figured he was
amazing.
done, and that was a nice surprise to see.
Yeah.
I think the the biggest little kid reaction was probably Jake
Yeah.
Sargent, because he's learned a lot from him, and that was his primary trainer. And
Right.
but yeah, so it's good to see him back. So.
That is awesome. Were you on shows with the NXT World Heavyweight Champion, Tommaso Ciampa?
He was, he did a few shows with APW. Again, even though he was on the verge of, breaking
Right.
out big time, you'd never know it. If you
Right.
didn't know who he was,
Yeah.
he was right in there with the boys,
Yep.
Shooting the breeze with us and giving feedback and working through. I want to say the first show he worked was Ortiz.
Yep.
They tore the house off, tore the roof off the place. But right after the match, he was back talking with younger guys, you know.
That's awesome.
And it's great to see guys that, you know, because you're starting to see more him and Dijak and other guys
Yeah.
making it in the big time. And
Yeah.
it's all
Warbeard,
Warbeard. Yep.
you
All
know.
to see these guys, and you know, it's the little kid in me to see guys that I know have been in the locker room, been in the ring with, now going on to bigger and better
It's
things.
amazing.
It's awesome to see.
Yeah,
It's great to
New
see.
England is a hotbed for
They are.
wrestling.
Yep.
You honestly, if you live somewhere not in New England and you really want to train to be a wrestler, and there's nothing in your state, come here, man.
Yep.
There's so many places. You could pick a city and within 30, 40, 50 miles, there's a place to train. Really.
Yep.
With Slick's got one out in Connecticut. I mean,
Yep.
there's just so many places. How about the Devil's Reject, Brandon Webb?
Brendan
Oh,
Webb
God,
was
that's
actually the lead.
incredible.
Oh, he is amazing. He was actually the leader of the group, the organization. It started with him,
Right.
and they brought me in as the hired gun for a brief time, and we got to work with a group, you know,
Yeah.
NWO style kind of thing. But yeah, what an amazing guy, and certainly someone that's evolved his character, and just great to see him. But he's, you know, great talent.
Remind me when we're off air to tell you something that I saw on social media with Brandon. Incredible. You probably saw it too, but how about a guy that just came back to New England and wrestled a few matches? He might have wrestled at APW. Hurricane John Walters?
Yep. No, he was actually when I was training, I
Yep.
went to a Cold Fury 3.
Okay.
I think it was 2001.
Yeah.
It was him and Ortiz, and they just destroyed each other to the point where I pulled Johnny Fabulous aside on my own and said, "Hey, is he really hurt?" Because they had to take the ropes off, brought him out in an ambulance,
Wow.
and it was just an amazing, amazing match, those two. And I know those two have worked several times over.
Yeah.
But yeah, what an amazing. I'm surprised he never made. I don't know if it was his desire to go on to that next level, but he certainly could have made it.
Right. Well, he was working for the WWE for a while, you know, as like enhancement talent, but
Yep,
they were
yep.
putting him in, and like every week he'd be in a backstage segment eating, and a Big Show would beat the crap out of him.
Yep.
But then he ended up going out west
Yep.
and doing the RJ Brewer thing.
Right.
And I mean, he did very well for himself. John's a very smart guy too,
Yep.
anyways. But it was great to see him come back. I was lucky enough to get to a show that he was on. Credible workout.
To have two separate characters that have that much success,
Yeah.
I mean, that's
It's amazing, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't happen to everybody.
No.
How about a smaller guy? We've been talking about some bigger guys earlier, but Mike Pava.
Mike's great. Mike Pava will sacrifice his body for the good of the show.
Right.
And he doesn't care what role he's in on the show. He just contributes. And again, just a super nice guy to be around. But you know, if nothing is off limits with him. If I say, hey, I want to take this chair and what? Oh yeah, sure.
Right.
If it's going to be for the show, great. Why not?
Yeah.
And to see him and Lumberjake pal around, it's
Yeah.
like, you know, it's just a great buddy team. But yeah, Mike, I wish we had him more. But yeah, what a great guy.
Yeah, I enjoy watching Mike wrestle big time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring it down just a little bit. You know, I saw that you wrestled him, and we talked a little bit off air about him. You had a match against DC Dillinger.
I did. Yep. That was very early in my career, and I didn't realize then the legend that I was in the ring. I was very new.
Yeah.
It was just the next opponent at the time, and it wasn't until, you know, later on that when he passed, and I learned how much connected we actually were with guys like Stiff Mike and Bo Douglas and all those guys that came from Walter Kowalski's school.
Right.
And I didn't realize how much of an influence he had.
And
So-
a lot of people.
Yeah, it really did. And it was an honor for me to be able to say that I worked with him. I mean, it was a very ugly match for me, but he was an amazing talent. I didn't know him well,
Right.
but since his passing, I've got to learn a lot more about him.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I was able to share a ring and say I was
Yep.
able to do that. And but yeah, tragedy.
Yeah, definitely. Great wrestler. I didn't know him well at all either. I just used to love watching him wrestle, man. And his tag team with the next guy I'll bring up, Eddie Edwards.
Eddie Edwards,
Sabotage.
Yep. Again, back in the wrestling Star Wars days down in Salisbury, these guys were really new. They were Walter students, just getting some experience, and you never knew then what these guys were going to become. Although they were amazing,
Right.
kind of like the young guys we have now,
Yeah.
the Currys and those guys. Amazing to see the success that he's had,
Yeah.
and it's good to see it all pay off. And
Well, back then, was that Eddie had the dreads back then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Die
He-
Hard.
I remember when I first saw him, you could tell, honestly, I literally could tell that if he stuck with it and didn't get hurt, that he was going to go on to bigger and better things. And
Yep.
incredible,
Yep.
the stuff he's done. Are you familiar with their manager? I like to bring him up because they are our group, Eddie, DC, and Sean Gorman.
Don't know him.
Okay.
No.
But great manager. Another guy that, like, the heat on him and DC would probably the most hated guys I've ever seen at an independent show. I literally see people that wanted to kill them.
Yeah.
You know?
It's good.
Yeah.
Means they're doing something right.
Right. And then they also have another guy that's in with them, the four of them, George Carroll. I don't know if you know George. George's been doing a lot of great things with being the U.S. ambassador to New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
So
all right.
George is doing great things.
Oh,
What's
good.
up, George? How about Tim Lennox? I know he's wrestled quite a bit for APW.
Yeah, Tim is not a guy you'd look at and be like, oh yeah, but he has been in matches with Ortiz and
Yep.
other guys that you wouldn't think he'd be able to hold his own with, and he has put on an amazing show.
Yes.
He is just an odd guy.
Yep, yep.
Uh,
He'll be the first to admit
he
it too,
would,
I'm
he would.
sure.
but just amazing, and he surprises every
Yeah.
time, and he just puts in a 5-star match every time I've seen one.
And like you said, like odd style, slam dance, that's his nickname and all that.
Yep,
But
yep.
hell of a talent. I really do
Absolutely.
enjoy watching him wrestle a lot.
Yep.
A guy that used to wrestle for APW doesn't wrestle, I don't think, at all anymore. Mark Sherman.
Mark Sherman, great character.
Yeah.
His
Goofy.
his
Character.
videos with Jimmy Preston
Yeah. Oh, thrill
are
ride.
amazing.
Yeah.
The thrill ride, and I have guys at work that watch these videos
Yeah,
all the time,
too.
and it's amazing. And real
Yeah,
one quick
yeah.
plug. One of the guys I work with, my buddy Bruce, 1989 Yankee Classic bodybuilding champion.
Oh, wow.
Big fan of these videos. We
Yeah.
show him and just to break the ice on some things. But yeah, but Mark Sherman, amazing talent, goofy at times, but when
Yeah.
he's serious, he can put in
Yeah.
one hell of a match.
He had a nice run, too, with Chaotic with his buddy Scotty Slade.
Yep.
And the tag team. That they really were very, very entertaining.
Yep.
How about the masshole, Mike McCarthy? Another guy that's
Yeah.
really killing it right now.
Yep, the guy everybody loves to hate.
Yep.
But again, amazing talent, and he's we worked through his fair share of injuries and
Right.
things as well. But he just, that character of his is just perfect,
Yeah.
and he makes you hate him, and he wants you
Right.
he wants you to hate him, and it works.
Nice.
So, but yeah,
How about I haven't seen him around in a while. I think he might still be wrestling for Big Time Wrestling. Jack Maverick?
yeah, Diamondback.
Yes.
He worked quite a few shows for APW a few years back. Probably the most solid guy I've ever worked with. He is just, running into him is like running into a wall.
Right.
And but for a big guy, he can move around like a high flyer.
Right.
He's just a super strong, and does great things. But yeah, nice guy. I don't know where he disappeared to, but
Yeah, like I said, I think he might still be wrestling just a little bit for Big Time Wrestling.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, the next guy I'm going to ask, I'm not sure if you are familiar with him, but I'll ask it anyways. Tony Delfonso?
yes,
Another guy, talented.
he started
kid,
off
man.
as Tony Gangsta, I believe. right?
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
So I know him from
the Alfonso.
back in the day, and he just a few years ago we ran into each other again, and yeah, I mean I didn't know he was even still around, but yeah,
Right.
I don't know him well, but a great talent.
Yeah,
and,
you're right though. I forgot about Tony Gangsta.
Tony Gangsta.
Yep,
He was
and
a
the tag
skinny,
team.
he was a little skinny, scrawny
Very
guy back
small,
then, and
yeah.
now he's not.
Yeah.
So
Speaking of that, there was a lot of young kids that were really skinny and scrawny that I became big fans of. I don't know if the Mighty Mini. Do you remember the Mighty Mini at all?
I re-
Andre Lyons.
I recall the name.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think
They
it
were
was ever-
small guys, but man, could they work. All right, right now, when's your next show?
Our next show is March 9th.
Yep.
At the Elks Club in Newburyport, Mass. 6:30 bell time. That is our spring-loaded show.
Right.
And they haven't put things together. I'm hearing rumblings now, but we're going to have a good follow-up to the amazing show we had just
Right.
this past weekend.
Now,
So
I think they're doing something at Haverhill, Haverhill too, for Kids Fest.
Kids Fest. Yep, I believe that's in May.
Yeah, I think I
yeah.
have it written down, but it might be in my other notebook. Sorry, guys.
AtlanticProWrestling.com will
Yeah.
have all of our dates,
Right.
including the link to our newly to be opened school,
Right.
Wrestling Academy
Do you want to talk
Revival.
about that real quick
Yep.
for 'em?
Wrestling Academy Revival is the Atlantic Pro Wrestling Training Center. We just secured a location, secured a business
Nice.
license. We're going to be opening up very soon. AtlanticProWrestling.com will have all the details for it, with schedule and all that.
Yep.
Ortiz, I know, is going to be one of our trainers. Stiff Mike, a couple other guys.
Oh, you can't go wrong there.
You really
man.
can't. You really can't. So, among other guest, trainers
Right.
that'll be coming in, but it's going to be right at Salisbury Beach,
Nice.
just a stone's throw away from the original
Right.
Champs Arena and
Yep.
the other place. So, yeah, so we're looking forward to that. So that's going to be a good thing.
Nice. Yeah, because those, like I said, those guys will be here tomorrow, and they'll be able to plug all. It's gonna be tomorrow's gonna be all APW guys, as I will have the owners Joe Moakley and Michael Morse in studio. Is there anything you want to get off your chest, or any, you know what I mean? Anything you want to talk to the fans? Maybe tell the fans something.
No, well, it's just great to be back this year, 2019, and we started off on a super high note.
Yep.
APW the other night. We're looking forward to having great shows all year. We always appreciate you guys coming, paying your hard-earned money to see what we do best, and we look forward to a lot more shows this year. Where I know the guys tomorrow are trying to put together some other special things,
Yep.
hopefully, and I'm just be happy to be along for the ride. I'm certainly at the tail end of my career. I'm almost 50 years old, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. I'm enjoying the ride. I can't thank the guys enough for allowing me to do this.
Right.
And but it's been a great ride. And just one more quick plug.
Yeah,
I know
please.
this is
No,
going to air. I know
This is what
sometime
that's what
this
you're here
week.
for.
My granddaughter Brielle.
Yep.
She's going to be 4 years old on the 20th.
Nice.
So happy birthday, kid! Papa loves you.
Happy birthday.
And always a thank you to my wife. She's always been supportive the whole time I've been doing
Yep.
this career. My kids, they grew up, came to the wrestling school with me when I was
Right.
training. They're in their 20s now, but doing great things, and always had support from them, and I really appreciate it. I love all of you.
Nice. Now, my kids could take advantage of listening to that. When I asked you, did you watch my show this week? And the only one that does is my special needs stepdaughter, Nicole. And they like to tease me and say, because she don't know any better. Yes, she does. So, Nicole, I'm going to show you this. I love you, and I love you, Elizabeth, Michael, and Sarah, too. But thank you. Now, you said, how many children do you have?
I have two.
You have two?
Two grown daughters.
Yep.
And one of my oldest one's married.
Nice.
Her husband Steven.
Yep.
And they have my granddaughter Brielle. And my youngest daughter Jordan. She's a senior in college, actually graduating in May.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. Yeah, because like I said, I got three, 32, 30, and 17. Yeah. My 17-year-old, honestly, it's a miracle baby. I'm sorry, Sarah, but I love telling that story. She's a miracle baby. All right. Listen, Jim, thanks so
been a-
much for coming on.
it's
We'll
been a
do this
pleasure.
again. I'd like you to bring Jake
Absolutely.
with you, too, maybe next time. That'd
Absolutely.
be really cool.
absolutely.
And maybe we can have Hunter Ward guest host.
Sounds good.
Guys, we're out. Thank you again. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.